Good afternoon, everyone. I thank ICTS for this opportunity, and I'm going to talk about stratified non-reciprocity controls the stability of multitrophic ecosystems. So usually, complex systems are often grouped into layers. So different layers will have different roles. Ecosystems are one such example where uh, it's grouped into layers. So what I mean by ecosystem grouped into layers is that there are ecosystem consists of like trophic levels. So the species which are in the same level of food chain will occupy the same level in the trophic levels. So here you can see as an example, the bottom layer consists of producers and the next layer consists of primary consumers and the next layer consists of secondary consumers. So there are like divided into layers, and each layer interacts with the adjacent layers. So in this case, the interactions need not be only reciprocal. The interactions can be non-reciprocal. So complex systems out of equilibrium always have non-reciprocal interactions. So what I mean by non-reciprocal interaction is that how A affects B will not be same like how B affects A. So in this case, we have so many layers, and the species in each layer interacts with the other layer, and if I make the interactions between them to be non-reciprocal, then how does it affect the stability of the system? So there are like many layers and there are many interfaces, and we can have different degrees of non-reciprocity between different interfaces. So this is what I call by non-reciprocity, with the different interfaces can have different degrees of non-reciprocity. So this is called stratified non-reciprocity, and how stratified non-reciprocity can affect the stability of ecosystems. So previously, most works have considered a single layer or two layer, but if you want to study stratified non-reciprocity, then the minimal model could be a 3-layer model. So ecosystems with 3 or more trophic levels remains unexplored, and non-reciprocity can vary across layers. It need not be uniform to all layers. It can vary across layers, and how this stratified non-reciprocity is going to affect the dynamics of the system. So this is a system like this is a simple model that can exhibit the stratified non-reciprocity, because there are 3 layers and we can have 2 different non-reciprocities. So let's consider resource interface, that is resource and consumer. So there we'll have 2 different interaction matrices. So one is how the consumer gains from the resource, and other will be how the consumer gets how the consumer depletes the resource. So rho R, which is the resource reciprocity, which is defined as the correlation between these both matrices. And if they both are same, then the reciprocity is 1, which means they are the matrices, they are very similar. They have linear relationship. And if the correlations are like different, then they are interacting in a non-reciprocal way. So we can vary the degree of non-reciprocity from 1 to 0. 1 means fully reciprocal and 0 means fully non-reciprocal. And then if you do that, then what happens to the stability of the system? So here, since we have 3 layers, we have 2 reciprocities. One is rho R, which is resource reciprocity, and the same is in the predator interface. That is how the predator gains from the consumer can be different from how the predator depletes the consumer. So the correlation between these interaction matrices is rho X, which is the reciprocity in the top layers. So now we have 2 reciprocities and how changing them can affect the stability. So these are the results. So this is a phase plot where x-axis is the predator reciprocity and the top layer reciprocity, and y-axis is the resource reciprocity, the bottom layer reciprocity. So different values of rho x and rho r, we ran the simulation, and these are the simulation results, and the curve, the black curve is from the calculations. Um, so we can see that the white region is stable, the blue regions are unstable, and we have an infeasible region, which is like, which we don't have solution in that region. So let's ignore that. Let's focus on the other two regions, which is unstable and the stable region. So to understand this, let's pick 3 points. First, let's look at the red circle. So which lies on rho x is equal to 1 and rho r is equal to 1, which means the system is completely reciprocal. So in that case, we expect the system to go to a steady state. We can see the dynamics are given in the right side. So the red circle is where the system is completely reciprocal and we expect it to go to steady state, and yeah, it goes to a steady state. And next, let's come to the yellow star, which is which has the predator reciprocity 1, but the resource reciprocity is lesser. I mean, the interactions in the bottom layer, we are making it to be non-reciprocal, but we are keeping the interactions in the top layer to be reciprocal. Rho x1 and rho r, we are reducing it. So in that case also, we see that they also reach a steady state. And then we move on to the green square, where we keep the resource reciprocity to be 1 and we reduce the predator reciprocity, which means we are making the interactions in the top layer to be non-reciprocal. So in that case, we can see that it goes to a chaotic state. It lies in the unstable region. So from here, we can see that there is an inherent asymmetry. Uh, Reciprocity in the top layer matters more than the reciprocity in the bottom layer. So this is what we call it as top-down control, where the the stability relies on the interactions with the predators more than the interactions with the resources. So is this so this is the stability boundary we get in this condition. So is it possible that we could uh, tune the stability boundary? So it's like, here we have considered one thing, like we considered that efficiency is 1. Like in the system, we consider energy efficiency is 1, but in nature or ecosystem, we don't always see that. So energy is not always efficiently transferred across the trophic levels. It is always less than 1. So what happens if we uh, reduce the energy efficiency? Can we just change the stability boundary? And yes, like if we reduce the energy efficiency, let's call eta the efficiency. It varies from 0 to 1. 1 means energy is efficiently transferred across layers, and 0 is like it's not transferred at all. So if we reduce from 1 to 0, then what happens to the stability of the system? So as we can see, if we in the figure, as we reduce the energy flow efficiency from 1 to being 0.1, we see that the system is undergoing a transition from being top down to bottom up, which means initially it was like more aligned with, it was kind of vertical, but then it undergoes a transition from being bottom up, which means it becomes more like a vertical. So this is because, like, as we reduce the energy flow efficiency, we the diversity of the species is also reduced. You can see, as you can see in the curve. So this gradient of the diversity is what making it go from top down to bottom up. So as we decrease the energy flow efficiency, the species diversity also decreases. Um, So we also see another thing, that if we reduce the energy flow efficiency, we also see that the area of the stable region also increases. So, um, so ecosystems that actually inefficiently transfer energy are more stable against the non-reciprocal interactions than the efficient ones. In ecology, there is also a famous 10% energy rule, so which states that only 0.1% of the energy is harvested from one layer to another. It's not fully efficient. So this also gives an another perspective on this 10% rule, that as we can see, if we reduce the energy flow efficiency, the area of the stable region is also increasing. So this can give an another perspective on this 10% energy rule, which we see in the ecology. So the key findings are the location of the non-reciprocity matters. So it's important that where non-reciprocity is occurring will matter in the layered system. If it occurs in the top layer or the bottom layer will matter for the stability. And at perfect energy flow, ecosystems are more sensitive to losing stability at the top trophic level than at the bottom. So it's an inherent top-down control. So when eta is equal to 1, we saw there was an inherent top-down control. But this energy flow can control the stability boundary. So if we increase the energy dissipation, the system can undergo a transition from being top-down to bottom-up. And we see that ecosystems that transfer energy inefficiently were like more stable against this non-reciprocal interactions, so which can give another perspective of this 10% energy rule. Yeah. So I would like to thank Akshit for his support and guidance. Thank you.
Let's thank Rukmani once again.